The cry from beneath. The sky was dark, filled with black smoke. The air smelled like fire, oil, and death. Mountains of garbage stretched as far as the eye could see. Rusted metal, broken machines, old bones, and pieces of forgotten cities were buried under the filth. This was not Earth. This was planet Zerna 9. A man walked slowly through the garbage. His clothes were torn. His face was dirty. His back hurt, but he didn't stop. He was human, one of the last ones left in this part of the galaxy. Humans were not welcome here. The alien overlords had pushed them out, calling them weak and useless. Now this man was alone, looking for food, parts, or anything to survive one more day. He stepped over a broken robot arm. Suddenly, he heard something strange. A sound. A voice. It was weak, like a whisper carried by the wind. "Please, help my daughter." The man stopped. He looked around. Nothing. Just more garbage. Then again, clearer this time. "Please, human, save her." His heart began to race. The voice was not human. It was soft, broken, but full of pain. He walked toward the sound, pushing trash aside. His boots sank into the soft pile of melted plastic and ash. "Where are you?" he shouted. No answer, but something pulled him forward like instinct. He dropped to his knees and started digging. Broken glass cut his fingers, but he didn't care. He moved metal sheets, cracked pipes, slimy wires. The pile was deep. Whatever was under there had been buried for hours, maybe days. He reached deeper. Then he touched something warm, soft, not metal, not machine. He dug faster, his hands bleeding now. He pulled out a small shape covered in dirt and slime. A child. An alien child. She had gray-purple skin and 4 small eyes that were closed tightly. Her chest was not moving. She wasn't breathing. "No, no, no, no," the man muttered. He wiped her face gently. She looked like she was maybe 6 or 7 years old in human age. She had strange ridges on her neck and tiny gills that looked crushed. Her hand was cold. But then, she coughed. Once, twice. She gasped for air. She was alive. The man wrapped her in his old jacket and held her close. She was shaking. Her body was so light, like a bird. He looked around. "Who spoke to me?" he whispered. "Who told me to come?" The girl opened her eyes slowly. All 4 of them. "My mother," she said weakly. "She is gone." The man looked back at the pile. He dug again. A few feet away he found her. The mother was crushed under metal, her face frozen in pain. She had died protecting her daughter. He closed her eyes gently. "I'm sorry," he said. The girl started crying softly. "They threw us away," she said. "Because of what I know." "What do you mean?" he asked. But she had fallen asleep in his arms. Suddenly, he heard something above. A drone. A red light scanned the area. The aliens were searching the dump. Maybe looking for the girl. Maybe looking for him. He ducked under a broken roof. The drone passed, missing him by inches. He looked at the child. Who was she? Why was she buried alive? And why did he hear her mother's voice in his mind? The man stood up. His legs were tired. His back hurt more. But he didn't care. He had someone to protect now. "All right, kid," he said quietly. "Let's get you out of here." He carried her through the garbage field, away from the light, deeper into the ruins. Every step was dangerous. Every shadow could be death. But the human didn't stop, because he had heard something more powerful than fear, a cry for help, and he was the only one who answered. The girl woke up in the middle of the night, her 4 small eyes blinking slowly. The world around her was dark, quiet, and cold. She wasn't in the garbage pile anymore. She was lying under a tilted wall of a broken building, wrapped in something warm. The human sat nearby, keeping watch, holding a long piece of metal like a weapon. He didn't sleep. When she moved, he turned his head. "You're awake," he said softly. The girl nodded. Her voice was weak. "You didn't leave me." "No," the man replied. "I don't leave people behind." There was silence for a moment. Then the girl whispered, They wanted me dead. The man didn't ask who they were. He just looked at her with steady eyes. Why? She sat up slowly. Her skin still had dirt and bruises, and her voice shook with fear and confusion. My father worked for the high mind. He was one of the data engineers, she said. He found something terrible. He gave the secret to me, put it in my mind. A memory package. Said I had to run. The man narrowed his eyes. A memory package? Inside your brain. The girl tapped the side of her head. It's locked. Only works with special code. But they knew. That's why the soldiers came. My father told us to run, but they found us near the dump. My mother hid me. She didn't make it. The human was quiet for a while. Then he said, You're not safe. Not yet. Whoever did this, they'll keep looking. She looked up at him. Why did you help me? You don't even know me. The man stood, stretching his sore muscles. Because you asked. That's enough. She didn't understand. Most species in the galaxy wouldn't help a stranger, especially not a weak alien child. But humans were strange. She had heard stories, old stories, about how dangerous and emotional they could be. Some feared them. Some hated them. Now she wasn't sure what to feel. The man took a small device from his coat and turned it on. It made a faint blue map in the air. Broken roads. Destroyed towers. And somewhere in the middle a red blinking dot. That's a scan drone, he said. Patrolling the dump field. It's getting closer. Her voice cracked. Are they coming for me? He nodded. Yes, and they're not alone. She hugged her knees, trying not to cry. The man looked at her. You said your father gave you a memory package, he said. Does it have something that can hurt the high mind? She nodded slowly. He said, it's proof that the mind lied. About the war. About the towers. About everything. If people knew, they'd rise. He said, the truth could break the system. The man smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Truth is dangerous. That's why they bury it. She looked up. Will you help me finish it? I already started, he said, walking toward the edge of the ruin. So yeah, we finish it. They moved before sunrise. The garbage field was worse in daylight. Heat rising off the piles, the stench making it hard to breathe. They kept low, hiding in the shadows. The man knew the paths between broken machines and rusted towers. He had lived in these places too long. He moved like a ghost. The girl followed closely. Her small feet stumbled, but she didn't complain. She wanted to be brave like him. A loud buzz filled the air. The man froze. A scanner drone hovered above, red light sweeping the ground. Stay still, he whispered. The girl held her breath. The light passed over them but didn't stop. The drone moved on. That was close, she said when it was gone. Too close, the man replied. They're changing patterns. They know you're alive. They reached a hidden tunnel under a fallen train station. Inside was dark, cold, and damp. The man lit a small flame. We rest here. Then we move at night. She looked around. Is this where you live? Sometimes, he said. Enough roof to keep the rain off. She sat beside him. Do you have a name? He looked at her, then away. Used to. Doesn't matter now. She thought for a moment. Can I call you something? He shrugged. Up to you. She smiled gently. Then I'll call you Stone. Because you're quiet, but strong. He almost smiled at that. And what do I call you? He asked. My name is Kari, she replied. All right then, Kari, he said, his voice soft. We'll get you to the right place. Whatever it takes. She looked into the flame. For the first time in days, she didn't feel alone. But far above them, in a floating station, a new order was given. Target located. Human interference confirmed. Kill both. And the hunt began again. The sky had turned red. Not from the sun, but from the fire in the air. Far above, in the orbit of Zerna 9, a silent order had already been sent. A black ship, smooth like glass and shaped like a blade, cut through the clouds. It made no sound. No lights. No mercy. Inside the tunnel, Kari stirred in her sleep. Her head rested on Stone's jacket. The human had not closed his eyes all night. He sat near the tunnel entrance, watching, listening. He had felt it. Something was wrong. He stood slowly and placed one hand on the ground. It was shaking. Not loud, not fast, but a soft, steady rhythm. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Machines. They had sent hunters. He walked back to Kari and gently touched her shoulder. Wake up. She blinked, confused for a moment, then sat up quickly. They found us. Not yet, but they're close. She stood, shivering. Where do we go? Stone picked up his makeshift weapon, a sharp metal pole with a broken plasma cell taped near the tip. We go where they don't. Kari didn't ask how he knew the way. She followed. The tunnel led them deeper into the old city ruins, a forgotten place buried under garbage and time. Once it was a human sector. Now it was poison. No air, no light, no life. But Stone walked like he'd been here before. Have you been down here? Kari asked. A long time ago, he replied. I fought here, before the world changed. Kari wanted to ask more, but then she heard it too. The echo of metal legs walking above them. Not walking, hunting. She froze. What are they? She whispered. Trackers, Stone said. Machines made to find anything alive. They don't stop. They don't speak. They don't think. Just hunt. Kari swallowed hard. Can we beat them? Stone didn't answer. His eyes stayed focused ahead. They passed through broken doors, water dripping from cracked pipes. Old screens still blinked with dead messages. Evacuate. Failure. Order 13. Signs of a war long lost. Then they heard the sound. Not loud, not close, but behind them. A hiss, a click. A voice with no soul. Subject detected. Human and alien life form. Directive, terminate. Kari gasped. Stone turned fast and threw something. A rusted explosive sphere. It hit the tunnel wall and burst in a flash of light and dust. The sound shook the ground. Run, he shouted. They ran through the tunnels. The light behind them grew brighter. The machines didn't care about stealth anymore. They had found their prey. Kari's legs burned. Her lungs hurt, but she kept going. Stone grabbed her hand, pulled her forward. Another tunnel. A metal stairwell. Then a round door, half broken and old. He forced it open. They slipped inside. Silence. Darkness. They were safe for now. Kari collapsed to the ground, breathing hard. Stone leaned against the wall, wounded. Blood ran down his arm. You're hurt, she said, crawling to him. He shook his head. It's nothing. She tore a piece of cloth from her sleeve and tied it around his wound. It wasn't much, but it was something. Thank you, he said quietly. She looked up. Why do they hate you so much? He closed his eyes for a second, then spoke. Because I fought back. And because I'm human. They fear what they don't control. Kari touched the side of her head. What if I fail? What if they catch me? He looked her in the eyes. You won't. I'm not letting them. But you're just one person, she said. Stone smiled, just a little. Sometimes, that's enough. Behind the broken wall, something beeped. Kari jumped. What's that? Stone crawled to it. Under the dust, he found a box with a faded mark. Human Resistance Cache 74B. He opened it. Inside were tools, power cells, maps, and something he hadn't seen in years, an old communicator badge with the human rebel symbol. Hope. He looked at her. We're not alone. Others might still be out there. Kari's eyes lit up. Can we call them? He nodded. If they're alive, they'll come. Outside, the trackers searched the ruins. But now they were not the only ones moving. Something old had woken up. And Stone was ready, because this time he wasn't just surviving. He was protecting a future. The message had been sent. Stone held the old communicator tightly in his hand, as if afraid it would stop working. Static crackled through the speaker, but no voice replied. No light blinked in return. Silence. Still, Kari looked hopeful. Maybe they didn't hear us yet, she said. Maybe, Stone replied, but his voice was heavy. They had moved deeper into the ruins. hiding inside what once was a human resistance control room. Dust covered everything. Broken screens, faded banners, rusted weapons. Time had eaten this place, but not its memories. Kari stood near the center of the room. Her eyes wandered over a wall full of names. "Were these your friends?" she asked. Stone didn't answer right away. "Yes," he finally said. "Most of them are dead. Some just disappeared." Kari walked to a small console and brushed off the dust. A glowing symbol appeared, human tech still active after all these years. "It needs a passcode," she said. Stone looked at her. "Your father's memory? Can it connect to this?" Kari hesitated. "I can try." She closed her eyes, breathing slowly. Her hands trembled as she reached toward the console. A small light rose from her palm, soft, blue, humming. Her species could transfer data wirelessly, but only if the code was still alive in her mind. The light touched the console. For a second, nothing happened. Then, the screen blinked. A voice spoke from the speakers. "Welcome, Engineer Revek's daughter. Memory file detected. Begin download." Kari stepped back. "It's working." Stone looked at the screen. "Do it." She nodded. The machine began to hum. Strange symbols scrolled across the screen. Alien code mixed with human language. Then the images came. Secret meetings. Maps of cities. Inside info on alien strongholds. And finally, the truth. Kari stared at the data, her face pale. "They destroyed their own cities," she whispered. "The high mind blamed humans for the war, but they started it. They used the war to take control of the other species." Stone's jaw clenched. "I knew something wasn't right. But this could free the galaxy," she said. Stone looked at her, and for a moment he didn't see a scared child. He saw a spark, a leader, a chance. But the moment didn't last. The screen flickered. A sharp beep echoed through the room. Stone's face darkened. "They found the signal." Kari looked at him. "We have to run again?" He shook his head. "No. This time we stand." She looked afraid. "But we're only two." Stone walked to a rusted panel and pulled it open. Inside were old weapons, still charged. He tossed her a small round device, a pulse emitter. "Two is enough," he said. Above ground, the black ship landed. Long, spider-like machines poured out. Their red eyes scanned the ruins. One of them raised its head, sniffing the air with heat sensors. "Life form confirmed. Prepare for breach." Below, Stone placed explosives near the door. "We buy time," he said. "Long enough to finish the download." Kari watched him work. "You've done this before." "Too many times." She wanted to ask more. Where he fought. What he lost. But now wasn't the time. Suddenly, bang. The ceiling cracked. They were coming in. "Stay near the back wall," he said. "Don't move unless I say." Kari nodded. The door above burst open. Two trackers dropped down. Stone moved fast. He threw a charge, blasting one into pieces. The second lunged toward him, fast, metal arms spinning. Stone dodged, stabbed the plasma pole through its chest. Sparks flew. The machine shrieked and died. More were coming. Kari watched, shaking. She held the pulse emitter tight. Another crack in the ceiling. Stone shouted, "Now!" She threw the emitter. A bright pulse of light exploded. The machines froze just for a second. Enough time. Stone grabbed her hand. "We run to the server room." "Come on." They ran down the hallway, lights blinking red. Sirens started to scream. The system was waking up after years of sleep, and it was angry. They reached the server core. Huge towers of memory crystals stood like frozen trees. Kari connected her hand to the port. The download restarted. Outside the door, footsteps. Dozens of them. Stone aimed his weapon. "You almost done?" "Almost." A giant machine slammed into the door. Kari cried out. 10 more seconds." Stone shouted back at the door. "Then let's give them 9. The doors didn't break. They melted. A red beam from outside sliced through the metal like it was paper. Smoke rushed into the room. Sparks danced across the floor. Kari screamed and pulled her hand from the server core. The download was complete. Just in time. Stone grabbed her and pulled her behind a fallen beam as the first machine stepped in. Tall, armored, its eyes glowing like fire. It looked around. It didn't see them. Not yet. Stone whispered, "Quiet." Kari held her breath. Another machine entered. Then another. They spread out, scanning the room. Stone reached into his pocket and took out the last smoke charge. He looked at Kari. "You trust me?" She nodded, scared but sure. "Good," he said. He threw the charge. It exploded into thick black smoke. Confusion filled the room. Stone grabbed Kari and they ran. Down an old vent shaft. Through a tunnel filled with broken tiles and dripping pipes. They didn't stop until the machines were far behind. Only when they reached the surface did they collapse. The sun was low now, orange and cold. The city around them was silent. Kari coughed. "That was close." Stone nodded. "Too close." They were now on the edge of the southern dead zone, a place once called the City of Bones. No one lived there anymore. People said ghosts wandered its halls. Machines refused to enter. Even the high mind kept its distance. Kari looked around. Ruined buildings stood like skeletons. Empty towers reached into the sky like broken fingers. "Where are we?" she asked. Stone looked up. "A place where the war ended," he said. "Where the last human army fell." She saw the look in his eyes. It wasn't fear. It was memory. "You were here," she said. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Suddenly, a sound behind them. A small, strange chirp. Stone turned fast, ready to fight, but stopped. A little flying orb floated above them, blinking blue. "Friend or foe?" it asked in a robotic voice. Kari stared. "What is that?" Stone smiled faintly. "Old tech. Human scout drone." The orb blinked again. "Signal detected. Communicator 74B. Identity match. Sergeant Eli Stone." Kari turned to him. "Eli? That's your name." He sighed. "Was. A long time ago." The orb circled them. "Follow. Resistance safe zone nearby. Caution. Zone unstable." Stone looked at Kari. "Let's go." They followed the orb into the ruins. Strange shapes stood in the shadows. Broken statues, melted weapons, walls covered in names written by hands that no longer existed. After 30 minutes, they reached an underground chamber. Lights flickered on. Metal doors opened. Inside were people. Not many. Maybe 20. Humans. Old, tired, scarred but alive. A woman stepped forward. Her face was burned on one side, her arm replaced with metal. She stared at Stone for a long moment. "Eli Stone," she said. "I thought you were dead." "Same," he replied. Kari looked between them. "You know each other?" The woman nodded. "I'm Ray. I used to command him." Stone smirked. "Used to." Ray looked at Kari. "And who's this?" "She's the reason we're still alive," Stone said. Kari stepped forward. "I have something important. A memory file from my father. It can break the high mind system." The room fell silent. Ray's expression changed. "How do we know you're not a trap?" she said coldly. "She's not," Stone said sharply. But Ray didn't back down. "We've lost too many. We can't take chances." A man in the corner spoke. "Let her upload the file. If it's real, we'll know." Stone nodded. "She just needs a working terminal." Ray stared at Kari, then at Stone. "Fine. But if anything goes wrong, it's on you." Stone stepped closer. "It already is." Kari was taken to the core room. She placed her hand on the terminal. The screen lit up. Data streamed across it. Proof of war crimes, system lies, secret kills, and buried truths. Everyone saw it. The room filled with whispers. "It's real. They lied to all of us." But then the lights went out. All of them. The core room went dark. And a single word echoed through the speaker. "Transmission intercepted." Stone grabbed Kari. "Run." Too late. A flash of light. A door burst open. Ray stood there. But her eyes were wrong. Cold. glowing. Kari gasped. She's not human anymore. Stone raised his weapon, full of rage. You sold us out? Ray smiled, a cruel, hollow smile. Not sold, she whispered. Chosen. Then the room exploded. The explosion was deafening. Flames burst through the corridor like a wave. Stone's body hit the wall hard. His vision blurred. His ears rang. He couldn't hear Kari's scream, but he saw her, crawling toward him through the smoke, coughing, crying, but alive. Stone pulled himself up. Blood ran down his temple. His shoulder burned. He grabbed Kari and shielded her as fire licked the room. Above them, Ray stepped through the smoke, untouched by the blast. Her eyes still glowed. She wasn't just working with the high mind. She was part of it now. I told them, Ray said calmly, walking toward them. The humans would never give up. Not unless we broke their heart. Kari held onto Stone's arm. We have to go. No more running, he growled. He raised his weapon and fired. The blast hit Ray straight in the chest. She didn't fall. She smiled. Her skin began to shift, metal lines glowing under the flesh. She was no longer human. Not fully. She was something between machine and memory, a puppet of the mind. You can't kill me, she said. I've already uploaded. Stone stepped in front of Kari. Then I'll destroy what's left. They ran. Down burning corridors. Past fallen rebels and shattered terminals. The base was gone, overrun, exposed, betrayed. But Kari still had the file. That meant they still had a chance. As they reached the exit tunnel, another rebel, a boy barely older than Kari, staggered forward. He was hurt, bleeding from the side. You're Stone, he gasped. I saw you fight at Arrow's Gate. Stone caught him before he fell. What's your name, kid? Jem, the boy whispered. Kari looked at him. Come with us. No, Jem said, teeth clenched. They're inside the walls now. You go. I'll hold them. You'll die, Stone said. Jem grinned weakly. Better than dying in the dark. Give them something to remember. He pulled a detonator from his belt. Go. Stone didn't argue. He just nodded once. Then he and Kari ran. The tunnel shook behind them as Jem lit the last of the charges. A final flash. Then silence. The city of bones collapsed behind them. Dust filled the air. Kari wiped her eyes. He didn't have to. He did, Stone said. Same as we do now. They emerged into the open night. The stars above were sharp and cold. The High Mind's black ship hovered in the sky like a wound that wouldn't close. Kari fell to her knees. There's nowhere left to run. Stone stood tall, eyes fixed on the floating tower. Then we don't run. We go up. She looked at him, confused. Up? Into that? He nodded. They'll expect fear, not fire. Kari hesitated. Even if we get in, we can't win. We're just two people. Stone pulled something from his jacket. A data shard. Kari's file. He handed it to her. You get this to the main relay on their ship. Plug it in. Let the truth spread. Kari looked at the shard, then at him. What about you? He gave her a small, tired smile. I'll make sure they're too busy chasing me to stop you. No, she said, tears forming. You can't. Kari, he said firmly. You're not just carrying memory. You're carrying the last light of a dying fire. Don't let it go out. The ship above began to lower. Searchlights pierced the ruins. They were coming. Stone looked up at the stars one last time. You asked me once why I helped you. Why I stayed. Kari nodded slowly. Stone stepped back, raising his weapon. Because sometimes the universe needs to remember what a human can do. Then he ran toward the light, straight into the swarm. Blades, fire, machines. He didn't stop. He roared like thunder, fought like flame. And behind him, in the shadows, Kari turned and ran the other way. Toward the sky. Toward the heart of the enemy. Toward the final fight. The wind screamed as Kari climbed, not with thunder. The black ship hovered just above the city. The Hunter-class ship dropped through the atmosphere like a falling god, like a giant beast holding its flame and silence. A glowing ramp moved without warning, without sound, opening into a hallway of light and shadow. No messages. She didn't stop to think. She wasn't here to speak. Every step felt like thunder in her chest. Below, the camp was behind her. Everyone had already chosen. Metal hid inside caves, blades striking. Some took up stolen weapons voice and shouting across the broken earth. And one, the girl who once had no name, time to change climbed everything. Alone to the peak of the Black Ridge. The air was too bare against the dust, too cold. Her body shaking, was perfect, her breath slow, polished. Eva, no dust. She stood with her eyes closed, no memory of the wind tugging at her torn clothes. Control. Her skin still marked by wires and bruises. Kari's feet echoed down the hallway. Around her, she clutched the shard in her hand. As if something inside her was alive and waiting. The truth. Daniel stood behind her. The key. He didn't speak. Lights followed her like eyes. He didn't need to. He just waited. Echoed through the walls. A shadow passed overhead. You are not meant to be here, had arrived. She hovered above them like a curse. You are afraid. Massive. Alone. Silent. Small. Lights. Her hand tightened belly on the shard. Blue. Aiming system. She said softly. Targeting. I'm not final alone. Measures. She reached the core room. It didn't need a giant space. A voice like spoke across the valley. Screens covered every wall, showing every city, cold, every planet, mechanical, every species still under the High Mind's control. Your presence, their movement, violation of containment. Silence. Submit. A pillar rose in the center. The central Eva didn't move. Daniel stepped forward. Stop. You don't have to face this. The voice was louder now. She turned to him. The ship itself was alone in that cage for years. Do not upload that memory, but not anymore. It will bring chaos. She took his hand, placed the shard on the interface, then let go. They will not thank you. She stepped forward. They will raise her hand toward the sky. She hesitated, calling me by their number. Then she said, the voice responded. They feared the man who saved me too. You are an experiment, but he still came. You are property of the Ascendant program. The room went black. Then let me show you what your property has become. Then the ship screamed. The wind howled suddenly. But alarms exploded. From images filled her body lit from within. Real images. A white light breaking through her skin like video cracks glass. The lies. Her eyes turned pure gold. The experiments. Her feet rose inches. The day the High Mind turned the ship weapons on its own people. Weapons activated and blamed humanity. Lines of blue light shot toward her. Control towers Eva didn't move. Broadcasts were hijacked. A dome of white every energy screen that formed every device like a second every skin. Voice channel. The light flooded just with the block the attack. Slaves stopped absorbed it. Soldiers dropped weapons. She gave it back. People began to wave of her hand. To rise. The sky screamed. To remember. The ship shook violently. To her knees. Sparks bursting from the system's heat burned through the floor. One wing caught fire. The ship shook metal turned red. She had done it. Peeled away. She had pulled the mask off the monster. But the monster wasn't dead yet. Alarms screamed. A door behind her exploded open. She was never the weapon. Through. She was the reaction. Down below, parts glowing. The ground cries around her feet. Rocks lifted into the air. She hissed. Daniel shielded his eyes, watching the impossible. Weak but still the prisoners behind him. You gave up your soul for control. One by one. They were no longer watching. I'd rather be small and free. They were watching something become legend. But before she could strike, the ship fired again. Hit her from behind with all it had. Stone. Eva let it. His body was torn. The fire hit her. Bleeding. One arm barely working. Blinded. But he stood in the doorway. For a moment, smoke rising from his weapon. She was gone. Sorry, I'm late. Inside the storm. Ray heard her voice, screamed, strong, and lunged at him. I remember my name. The light exploded, dragged her back in every direction. Hallway. Silence followed. Screamed. When it cleared, the hunter ship was Kari watched in horror. Then Stone looked at the edge of the ridge and shattered into the valley below. And he pulled the broken shell of what once was power. The hallway burst Eva drifted back to the ground. Ray was gone. She collapsed to her knees. The ship crashed moments held her up. She looked up at the sky in her eyes still glowing like a star going dark. I'm tired, but the message had already spread. I know, and the fire had already started. But it's over. Years later, she replied. The galaxy was different now. It starts. The High Mind was gone. She turned to the crowd. The towers fallen. The wounded spoke freely again. She wasn't afraid of their eyes anymore. Not about a weapon. Not about heroes in armor. A symbol. But about someone who broke the system that tried to erase a pile of garbage. A small child, a human who dug holding something to save her. It was in the new capital, a statue stood in the center of the plaza. It showed a man kneeling, and a child's hand stretched toward the ground. Eva took it, lifting a child into the light, and tied it around her wrist. Daniel watched her walk forward. Children asked, the girl who was once a number had become a name. The grown-up smiled and said, a signal to the galaxy that humanity had not only survived. It had awakened, and this time it would never be caged again.